Now, I've never played any of the other Amnesia games. In fact, the only game that I've played by this studio is the Soma game, which I highly recommend, but that's another video. Amnesia the Bunker is completely different than that. It is more of a survival horror game in the vein of like the new Resident Evil games, instead of in the vein of Soma. You're a character named Henry, and he doesn't say much, but when he gets freaking killed, his screams are phenomenal. Like, the voice actor went 110% there. Freaking props to that. But you start out during World War II in a battlefield, you and another guy, you're trying to survive through that, things go wrong, you end up in a bunker, and the game starts. In order to avoid spoilers, I'm not going to show you the monster or really get into how a lot of the puzzles and stuff work, because that completely ruins the entire experience, I think, and I'm not gonna do that. I am gonna say, however, that I will cover the tutorial-ish area and really go into the mechanics that are there. I might bring up a few ways that the game does do some puzzles, but I'm not gonna spoil the outcome or anything. You'll see what I mean. So you start out with a pistol with no bullets, you pick up a box, most of the boxes, or all of the boxes even, have one bullet in them. You have to manually put the bullet in the revolver, shut it, you know what you're doing here. It's very realistic and it adds to the tension how slow it is, which I'm really a big fan of. My comparison to Resident Evil doesn't end with the way that the game is set up or the way that it looks graphically, because there's also cloth that you pick up and that you use to heal yourself, but you have to combine the cloth into a bandage in order to do so, just like you do the herbs in the Resident Evil games. You get grenades every once in a while, but those are more useful for the puzzle situations, like in the tutorial you can use it to blow up a door, than much else. There's a weird mix of using your head logically as you would in real life and using your head like a gamer would that I think works really well as well. You know how the grenade would blow up that door? Well, there's other moments when there is a red barrel in front of an obstacle, and if you're a gamer, you go, "Red barrel? I wonder if that thing goes boom." You shoot it, and guess what? That thing goes boom. Stuff like that really helps the experience because it feels like there are multiple ways that you can overcome obstacles and get through doors and progress through the game. Another game that I can compare this to besides Resident Evil is Alien Isolation. The way that the creature in this game works is he is always stalking around, he's always creeping, he's always in a crevice somewhere, he's always there, he's omnipresent, he is eternal. The guy is scary as frick. You never know where he's gonna come out at, and there are hints everywhere that, oh, he could be here because of this or there because of that, but you're never entirely sure until you hear him. There are a lot of really good sounds alerting you to his location, where he could be, when he could strike, and it's frightening as frick, okay? It really creeps on you. You can feel the hair stand on the back of your neck when you're in the middle of something and you're rushing to get it done, but you can just hear a creature creeping. Another way that this game has decided to add to the tension is that there is a generator within this bunker that you fill up with fuel in order to keep the lights on. If you don't use that to keep the lights on, there's always another way to have the lights on, and that is a flashlight that you crank and it goes really loudly. I mean, the neighbors next door could probably hear my TV going. So obviously that dad blame monster can hear you too. So if you're using that thing, there's pluses and there are minuses. The plus, now you can see things. The minus, he can hear you do it. And that adds tension because I don't know about you guys, but in real life, when the power's out and I'm sitting there going, I'm not speed running through levels trying to avoid a monster, and I still stub my toe and trip over obstacles, okay? So that does a great job adding to that atmospheric feeling of you are helpless, you're powerless, it is you against the world here. You don't know your surroundings, you don't know what's going on, you just gotta figure everything out. One of the ways that you can figure out the story, the lore, the plot, what has happened, why it's happening, is with notes that you find scattered throughout the place. These notes can actually give some really helpful details pointing you in the next direction, because there are no waypoints, there's nobody telling you, well, maybe you should go here. It is not linear, it is a fairly open but not open world experience. Again, it is more of an isolated game, but every time you read these notes, they can point you in the right direction, and if you miss a note before you get to the next one, that can be pretty confusing, so you gotta keep your eye out. But if you're using that generator to keep them lights on to make your travels a little bit easier, you're also running against the clock, you're fighting against time. You have to make it here, and here before the lights go out, because if you don't, you're a sitting duck sitting over there with your daggone light thing over and over again. Your flashlight is awful for stealth. It is pretty bad just as a flashlight in general, and this is actually a mechanic that I thought about doing if I made a game, because my grandma bought me one of these dad blame lights, a more modernized version of course, and daggone it, I hate it. I freaking broke it the other day though, and I wish I didn't, because it is pretty useful if you ain't got the batteries you need, but seeing it implemented into this game was a freaking joy when I saw it. I was so hyped. I was like, yeah, here we go. And then I regretted it right after because it gets rough. The death animations are hit or miss. Some of them don't really show much. Others, you don't need to see it because you hear blood-curdling screams that really let you know what's going on. I really enjoy dying in this game to the point that every time I see an opportunity to do so, if I saved a little while back, that wasn't too far back that it's gonna make me angry, I go out of my way to see what would happen if I died there. It's a lot of fun to die, which is strange to say. When it comes to saving though, the thing that is pushing you to not die, it is relegated to a sort of a bonfire system, just like Dark Souls, where if you light a lantern, boom, it saves the game. But you gotta make it to a lantern for the game to save. You can't just exit the game at a certain time and it just saves because you're done now. No, you gotta progress until you're there, so you have to time when you play this game to a point that you know you have time to make it to the next lantern, or it's gonna be a bit disappointing whenever you don't. One thing I really like about the lantern system is how it makes you think. In your mind, you could either go, okay, all I gotta do is make it to the next lantern, or you could debate on whether or not it would actually be safer and more convenient to go back to the last. There is a storage system within this game as well, where you can put items that are taking up space in your inventory that you don't necessarily need at the moment. This is another way to add tension due to the fact that you never know what you're gonna need and when you're gonna need it. If you put fuel in there, you may need it later. You put a grenade in there because you don't need it now, and obstacles in your way, now you gotta backtrack. You put a weapon in there that you're not using right now, and then, oh, you find some ammo for it, now you want to use it, you're going all the way back. It really makes you decide on what may be more important than something else. What could be more useful in the most situations? And I find that to be a lot of fun. It can be really aggravating at first, but as you plan a strategy around what you've learned, it becomes a very rewarding thing to just swap things out in your inventory. It sounds kinda dumb to say that that's rewarding, but it is. It gives you a really good feeling because whenever you prepare for something and you get it right on the money, I don't know, there's just a really good feeling that comes with it. I don't know how else to explain it. I like the music in this game too. It's got this chill and yet atmospheric tone to it that can sound really foreboding at times and never gets on my nerves, so I can definitely give them credit for that. The sound effects are pretty good too. Explosions feel and sound impactful. Gunshots actually sound like you're shooting a gun. Nothing is fantastic, nothing that is really gonna stick out apart from other games that have similar sounds, but they're pretty good, honestly. It really helps add to that tone of realism. And the setting helps a lot as well. We don't get many horror games set in World War II. We don't get many horror movies set in World War II. So having one set in a bunker with this claustrophobic feeling, with everything happening but you never exactly being ahead of what is happening, even if things can get slightly predictable, really helps establish a feeling of alienation, of isolation, and of being out of place. This isn't a time period that we are familiar with. This is a time period that most of the people playing this game were not alive during. And this is a world that is entirely different feeling than ours now. It's a lot less modernized, there's a lot less technological advances, and there's a lot less that you can rely on to get you out. I know this review wasn't really set up like my other ones. There was no script or anything, it was just me talking. But the way we end this baby's gonna be the same. Do I recommend this game? I do. This is a really fun horror game that honestly surprised me. Everything about this game is a pretty daggone good time, and I recommend it to anybody that just wants a good horror game, especially if you play the Resident Evil games or Alien Isolation and wondered what it would be like if they were shoved together during World War II. It is a lot of fun, and if you turn the lights off, you put on headphones, and you really get engrossed, it is absolutely terrifying. It's frightening to the core, and it is a dang good experience. If you played the game, let me know how you felt about it. If you made it this far, I appreciate you. For more news, reviews, and whatever we choose, stay tuned to Nerdsfeed. Have a great day.